Conditions are deteriorating. Other parts of the state have already seen significant flooding, and now forecasters are warning people about life-threatening storm surges. Thanks for joining us this noon. At this hour, hundreds of thousands of people in Florida are without power. That storm packing winds of up to 120 miles per hour. The storm, though, could weaken throughout the day. We are going to get to our Jonathan Elias in just a few minutes. But first things first, we want to go to ABC's Marcy Gonzalez, who is live in Smyrna Beach, Florida. Marcy?
Hi, good afternoon. We are feeling the effects of Hurricane Matthew. That choppy water you see behind me, that is not the ocean. That's the Indian River, and you can see how it is already flooding over the street here. The wind has been intense through the night and into the morning, strong enough to bring down trees and large branches, and it's not letting up just yet. Hurricane Matthew's eye brushing and battering Florida's east coast. Wind gusts surpassing 100 miles an hour, bringing down trees and power lines, leaving hundreds of thousands of people in the dark. But the major concern, flooding, starting in central Florida already, with forecasters saying the worst is yet to come, with a possible storm surge as high as 11 feet in some places.
I just want to emphasize to everybody that this is still a really dangerous hurricane.
Already, at least one hurricane-related death reported in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And the death toll climbing in Haiti. Nearly 300 killed, entire communities leveled. Matthew now moving north towards Jacksonville.
There's potential for significant flooding there,
as officials urge evacuations in parts of Georgia and the Carolinas.
We needed to be safe and to get out of there.
Communities there bracing for the destructive effects of Matthew next.
That's a lot of water, and it's very dangerous water.
I'm begging you at this point to understand the seriousness of the storm.
Yeah, and we are seeing just how serious this storm is, though the extent of the impact here still really isn't clear, because with all of this wind and this flooding, it's still too dangerous for anyone to come out here to assess the damage. Live in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News. Now back to you.
All right, Marcy, thank you. We want to take you live back out to Florida. This is Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Unbelievable. These conditions are getting worse, folks. This situation could even turn more urgent in less than an hour when high tide is expected to begin around 1 o'clock this afternoon. As I mentioned, our Jonathan Elias is there in Jacksonville Beach. We'll get to him in just a few minutes. But first, Chief Meteorologist Doug Hill is here with more on what the storm is doing right now.
Yeah, it's the center of it is just to the northeast, just offshore of Daytona Beach, continuing to move generally to the north-northwest. Let me go over to the walls and we'll give you all the details in close-up time here. So there you can see the circulation pattern. If you can kind of pick out the center of circulation, it's here. What has happened since late last night is it's a little bit weaker. Instead of 140 mile per hour sustained winds, it's 120. What happened during the evening and late afternoon, it kind of formed a double eye. You know, as the eye where the real intense winds were kind of broke down a little bit, a stronger band outside of it. So the effect has been the overall wind speeds are lower, but the winds, the high winds, have been spread out over a much larger area. So that continues to pile up the water, lash the coast, while the eye, or the center of circulation, remains just offshore and has wiggles a little bit, wobbles a little bit. And the latest hurricane center track has it hugging the coastline, especially when it gets near Charleston and the barrier islands there, Kiowa, Seabrook, and the rest, up towards Myrtle Beach. So it is going to continue to lash with winds, but it appears that flooding and water inundation may be a much bigger threat to the north than just the winds alone. It'll eventually continue to steadily weaken in about 36 hours and eventually curl its way back into the Atlantic as a tropical depression, and that should be the end of the story. As far as radar, pretty impressive now. There you see the center of circulation, a very wide eye, lashing relentlessly the coastline, and all these bad effects just drift to the north and northwest as the center of the system moves to the northwest. So it's going to be a long process, only getting worse and worse for Jacksonville, the Georgia shoreline, the Georgia beaches, and South Carolina beaches, and the entire low country there that is at such low elevation that there's going to be inundation and flooding that will extend, we think, well inland from the immediate coastline. On the northern fringes, we're sitting pretty here. We've got winds out of the east. It's keeping it damp and cloudy, but it's keeping most of the rain to the west, and that is great news because at 5 o'clock this afternoon, the first pitch at 5:30, the Dodgers and the Nationals playoff time. Think it'll be cloudy, but things are looking good. Jumi.
All right, Doug, thank you. This storm is going to keep heading to our north, and all 24 million people are under a storm watch or a storm warning. Our Jonathan Elias in Jacksonville, Florida, where folks there are bracing for Matthew's power. Jonathan, it's gotten worse as the day's gone on.
Oh, Jumi, we are absolutely getting pounded right now. We have gusts that are going well over 60 miles an hour. Can't turn the camera around to show you behind, but we can show you these grove of trees right here. Come over here with me real quick. I'm working with photojournalist Richard Chamberlain. We've been scouring this neighborhood. Everywhere in this grove now, beautiful homes, but there are trees that have been ripped out of the ground. That's just one of them. If you turn to your right, I'll show you. This illustrates the point really well. Everywhere you look, there's trees that have been knocked over, limbs that have been torn apart. These are some serious gusts that have been coming through here. And this tree helps really illustrate the problem. This tree fell down, and you see the power lines, takes the power lines down to the house. But this is happening on a much wider scale around here, where these huge trees are falling on some of the major transmission lines that are knocking down power to the entire neighborhood. If you want to take a quick trip, let me walk you over here and show you what we found. There is a huge tree around the corner. We ended up moving our car because we thought another tree might come down on our car. But just around the corner here, if you can see it, you can hear the wind. Listen to this wind for a second. It is just pounding. But look down the street there and you can see that tree fell way down. Richard, show this over here. It blocked the road now. The folks who live at the end of the street, they can't get through. You can see some people decided to ride this storm out. They are in their homes. They've got their cars in the drive. There are other homes that are completely empty. They've evacuated because they're too close to the water here. If you look up here, you can see, I mean, these trees are just, they're whipping and they're bending. Every now and again, you'll see a limb get torn off and just goes blowing down the block. So this is the situation now, and things have absolutely worsened here in Jacksonville. And this isn't even the brunt of it yet. We're not in the height of this storm. We're still about another hour to 2 hours away from seeing the real significant wind, the real heavy rain. This is just one of those outer bands we've been seeing on radar. And again, we're going to continue to ride the storm out. We'll stay here in Jacksonville. For now, though, I'm live. I'm Jonathan Elias here in Jacksonville. We'll talk back to you, Jimmy.
All right, Jonathan, you and Rich stay safe down there. Thank you for that update. Wow. We're also going to head a little further south down to the Caribbean. New pictures beginning to surface showing the devastating effects the hurricane had on Haiti. More than 250 people killed in the storm, which carried winds as strong as 125 miles per hour, also destroyed homes and flooded villages. A United Nations official there in Haiti says Hurricane Matthew is the country's worst humanitarian disaster since that big earthquake in 2010. And as this deadly storm barrels down on Florida's east coast, disaster relief agencies are bracing for what could be catastrophic damage. John Gonzalez is in the district at FEMA headquarters.
The National Resource Coordination Center here inside of FEMA headquarters in Southwest D.C. very busy at this hour. These are the critical hours. Now that President Obama has issued that state of emergency in Florida, it is a 24/7 operation here. And part of the work includes deploying those emergency teams down south to areas that could be directly affected by Hurricane Matthew and distributing the resources. We understand that FEMA has already shipped out close to 500,000 1-liter bottles of water, 8,000 blankets, and 20,000 cots, and over 500,000 meals for folks that could be in the path of this storm. This center is usually manned by only about 5 people. Well, today, close to 200, closely monitoring every move this hurricane makes.
Already have boots on the ground in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. So this is something that we've been preparing for quite some time. Today we're really just focused on making sure that the governor of Florida and the affected states have the support they need from us.
FEMA says shelters are already set up and opening in the Carolinas, Georgia, and of course Florida. The president's action here authorizes this federal agency to take the lead role on the disaster relief efforts. And part of that includes getting the message out that if your area has a mandatory evacuation, you need to follow instructions. In Southwest Washington, John Gonzalez, back to you inside.
And make sure you stay connected with the ABC 7 Stormwatch 7 team. We are bringing you continuing coverage of Hurricane Matthew's impact on the U.S. You can also keep up with us at WJLA.com, on Facebook, Twitter, and through our free Stormwatch weather app. Make sure you download that. Well, turning now to the big story that is happening here at home tonight.